So we are a Korean pizza brand called GoPizza. We're now present in 7 countries with over 200 stores. We will have like 300 stores in the coming 2 months. Um, we came into the market first as a QSR type pizza. So we are more affordable, we're faster, and we're more personal than other pizza brands. And that was why we could enter this pizza industry quite quickly when I started this business in 2016 from one food truck. So within 7 years, we've grown to the current status. About India, we believe India has infinite potential, not only for pizza industry, but as a country as a whole, because of the demographics and because of the GDP growth and all these technology and people driven to grow the country. So in that context, we believe that India market has great potential for our brand as well, geographically and demographically. So while we have very low saturation point in Korea, where we can only open, let's say, like 500 stores in Korea, we can probably open like 5,000 in India. And that's why we entered Indian market in 2019, but we were unfortunate with COVID for 2 years. So we relaunched the brand in 2021 with Mr. Mahesh here, and all the growth came after that. In terms of the yearly projections where we target 100 in India and 500 globally, we believe it's very achievable. But the plans after that, plans in the 5 years is what makes us really different from our competitors.
When we are looking at next year, 200 numbers at a shot and 500 numbers in next 2-3 years, because we are looking at going to IPO in 2026 end or 2027. That's the time we would like to cover all the state, and as India is very big, if we do our own, it might take time. But once we crack the entire model, and which we are in the process of by touching the 100 outlets, it will be easier for us to look at a master franchisee in few of the states.
We want to take the IPO as our commencement of true global brand, not the end of a startup. So we're not rushing, and 2027 will be the mark of 10-year anniversary of GoPizza incorporation as a global. So yeah, I think that's a good timeline. Yes, definitely. We are a very franchisable model where the investment is low, the labor cost is low, and we have very little competitor at the moment. So it's perfectly franchisable, but the reason why we do all the 50 stores in India currently as corporate owned or company owned is because the markets are so different across different countries. And it only makes sense that we test it first and we crack the solution for that country first before we franchise it to the locals. So we've been basically testing and piloting India market and other countries on our own, with our own cost, with our own efforts to vet the market, to test the market, and to prove the market. So now that we have seen the potential and the actual growth in the India market, we are very open to do franchising from this year, preferably city or state by state, with bigger franchise operators. I feel that India is more open to diverse culture, and especially the Western culture. So pizza feels more like at home in India than Korea, because Korea is a very Asian-centric culture. And Korea is based mostly on rice and Korean traditional food, while India, you still have the bread base. It's quite similar to how you consume a pizza. You put topping on a naan and then you consume it together with your hand. So I think that kind of food or palate proximity to the Western palate makes it quite easier to penetrate the Indian market. Second thing is that the sheer number of customers in India, with the biggest population in the world, the population that we see in the shopping mall or on a given high street is completely different. Korea is a decreasing population, and it's very difficult to find a populated place. a crowd, it's, except like very expensive properties. But India, anywhere we go, we can find a lot of customers. So I think we have a better shot at making each store successful in India. Also, to answer the India menu, we usually develop from Korea and bring it to the local market. But as we proceed, as we progress, we get our local team's opinions and local consumer comments so that we localize more. So current India menu is very different from the Korean menu. Although the base of the pizza, the dough, sauce, and cheese, those philosophical roots are the same, but everything that go on top is localized. And 70% of our sales come from the vegetarian line. So I think we're heavily localized to Indian market.
Right. So first we took time to understand the consumer preferences. So that's why we wanted to experiment at Bangalore and South. And now as we went to Hyderabad and Chennai. Now our strategy will be very aggressive and it's easy now. Now it's more easy because we know the taste, how the customer wants and what is the price range they're looking at it and what are the categories they're looking at it. So now it's more of a cut, copy, paste to expansion mode. So as I said, first we will look at all the metros other than the Mumbai, where the rentals are affordable for the models. And after Pune, Ahmedabad, Delhi, then we'll be entering to the Mumbai market. So as Jay rightly said, we will be in all the verticals, and as a convenience store, that's the easiest model to expand. We'll be in the airports, all the airports across everywhere, and all the malls, and high street however we are present across.
Yeah, I think it's all about people, and when you master franchise, especially when you don't have a strong brand like Subway, Domino's, or McDonald's, it's very difficult to survive in other countries because you basically have to start all over again, right? It's like setting up a new company and setting up a new brand. So it's very important that the master company or the headquarters is deeply involved. So I recommend, although it's the harder way, I recommend like smaller brands and startups to venture into new countries as 100% subsidy rather than a master franchise. And going global these days, it's a given thing. It's not a choice. Well, if you're an Indian brand, maybe you have a choice because you start from a huge nation. But for most of the countries where we have less than 100 million population, most of the brands have to go global now. So the competition will be more fierce, and it's very important that you localize successfully. And to do that, you have to be very involved. So Mahesh and I have been working together for 4 years now, and our Korea team and India team now work together like a one team. So it's beyond just Koreans selling a brand to Indians. We're actually creating it together. So that kind of teamwork is what truly global means, and that's we're not there yet, but I think that's the way to succeed. A lot of countries in the world, the labor crisis becoming very real. I understand, also India labor cost is increasing, but it's really very small impact relatively to Korea and Singapore and decreasing population countries. So one of the big trend is the food technology to replace or help or reduce labor, and also to achieve consistency and to achieve increased productivity of the kitchen workers. So I would say like a kitchen tech and food tech is one trend. Second trend is that because the cultural collapse of the entire world is happening faster and deeper than ever. Like before 10 years ago, if something's in trend in America now, it could be, 2 years later or 5 years later in trend in some other country. But now because of Netflix and YouTube, all the trend happens together simultaneously across globally. So it's very important to know those trends and to apply it into your brand quickly to basically utilize those trends. So in a faster paced world and where all the cultural cues happen at the same time, I think being very vigilant and agile towards these global trend and applying it to your brand is very important. And luckily, currently the Korean wave is like the world trend, right? So we are very fortunate to be the first to basically apply that in India as well.